Good evening, guys. Ken of Tortoise Capital Nightly Strategy Podcast for May 30th, 2024. I'm going to start with the sniper trade of the day. I'm shifting to the 10-minute charts for a while. I'm getting ready to start running summer camps in June, starting June 10th. And so I'll have my tablet with me in the mornings, but the 3 minutes are going to be a little too fast for me. So I'm shifting to the 10 minutes now to get my standard practice recalibrated here. So this is the sniper trade of the day. This is EWW on 10-minute charts. Here's the close yesterday. So we've already got that rollover, PSAR flipping over, dragon rolling over. So this is going to end up being kind of an owl short initially is what it feels like. So we get a slight gap up, runs down, and closes here. So now I'm going to use an OR10 style in which I'm going to be prepared to do this long, this short, and we'll see how that goes. This one gets short. Now on the 10-minute, because the time frame is longer and the size of the individual bars is greater, what I'm using instead of the R10 is I'm using an R5, which is two R10 boxes stacked. And so we'll remember that from a 0 to a range stat, there are 10 of those boxes, and which means that there would be 5 R5 boxes. So the R10 box in EWW is about 14 cents. So if I take 2 of those, I'm going to rounded it off to 30 cents. So this represents a 30-cent risk box. Which means I'm trading at half the normal position size that I have been using for a while, but that just makes it easier in terms of level of stress. And I can have more positions. So we end up getting short, check or hold. This over the next, it goes here, 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 and this one sells off and comes all the way back up. That looks like a bottoming tail. I notice that the R10 is reversed. So I'm ready to cash that one for about 0.8 rather than letting it come all the way up to the skin of the dragon. I'll just take a slightly above average win. So 0.8. Check or hold. The R10 continues to improve. It crosses the dragon. I take the price hitting the PSAR for my little entry. There's your declining PSAR. Here's the Bollinger Band mean that once it gets past that, then I can have a positive bias. Here's the turning point in the RL10. Here's the VWAP for the day. So I've crossed the VWAP. So that gives me kind of a positive bias. So then if it can get above the Bollinger Band mean, that gives me a bias. If I can get above the skin of the dragon or the peak of the RL10, those would be very strong upward biases as well. And I have my standard risk. Checker hold. It's trying hard to cross the Bollinger Band mean, and now we have it. So now I got a couple closes across the, I've got this rising lows. I have higher highs, and it has a nice close. The winter turned to spring. You can see that the dragon has turned. And now when it starts to fan out like that, that means that you're getting some upward pressure. And there's the RL10. So all that feels pretty good. So what I've got to do by this time with the close here, this last bar looked like this. With my close right here and my 1 unit of risk right here, even though the PSAR is still down here, I've got to move, I think, my stop higher. I want to lock in no lose plus dinner for 2. If I want to lock in no lose plus dinner for 2, that's the bottom of the support for those 3 that did not fail. So that would be no lose plus dinner for 2. I mean, that would lock in this much. So that feels okay. So that would be position number 1. If I go to the Bollinger Band mean to lock in, let's call that one 2. And that would allow me to lock in this extra piece. That is, if I took the support for the exit to be right there at position 2, if I go to a 1 bar low, I might call that position 3 or possible exit number 3. So now my question to you is this: 1, 2, or 3? There's a vote for 2. And 2 seems to have it. Oh, there's another one for 2. There's one for 3. I could live with either one of those 2. I think 1 is too low. Like, you don't want to lock in this much and then be playing softball with those. I think it's better to lock in 2 or 3. So now we are above. It turns out that they all worked. Hooray. So now we can look back and see. Now, we've just exceeded that crucial price level here. So either right here or as this thing is moving up to close right here, we're right at about 2R right here. On the basis of the R5. So do you want to add a second position or not? That's up to you. But that's a good problem to have. Now I can see the R10 rolling over, whether you added a position or not. The R10 is now rolling over. Notice how the acceleration of these bars has slowed down. And we're getting kind of doji action. And then this is the first one that has closed lower in a while. And as I read that, I feel the R10, which has moved into the summer, that has rolled over. And then as I look at the lows, that's what it feels like to me. It feels like the turning point is there. Now, officially, when that R10 flips or peaks, then wherever I had my stop, it should never be lower than the PSAR. But I might pick skin of the dragon, spine, the 1 bar low, which is also the skin of the dragon. So I might take this as 1, 2, 3, 4. And remember that price itself is right here. There's price. What are your votes for stops? Yeah. I like 4 myself, because if it's 4, then you're going to end up giving back this much. So 3 feels too far away. So does 2. So does 1. So I could live with 3 or 4, but I lean towards 4. Skin of the dragon. That's the doctrinally correct answer. Those are the four numbers again. And I tend to favor this one right here. And that's what we end up getting. PSAR flip. R10 has crossed the dragon. Here's your R10. It is now broken through the dragon. Price has hit the PSAR. So I'm short from here. My targets are going to be the Bollinger Band mean and the intraday VWAP, check or hold. I'm still going to just use the safety of the R5 for a standard risk unit. That's a little bit more than the peak of the dragon would suggest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the R5. I'm going to use the big R5 as my risk box for position sizing purposes. But I'm going to execute if it were to breach the peak of the peak of the R10, which is here. So I'm really limiting my loss to that much, to a 0.5 loss right off the bat. Like I wouldn't tolerate it going higher than that. And on that basis, in terms of execution risk, it's 2R down to the Bollinger Band main and probably 3R to the VWAP. Check or hold? And going right into the close, this is the perfect example, it turns out, of the VWAP magnet. Here was the VWAP all day. Here was the brief move against the VWAP. And then this was the favorable move out to the peak price of the day. So if this was the amount of time that it spent below the VWAP, this is the amount of time that it spent above the VWAP. And then when that whole complex rolls over, this is essentially a VWAP magnet trade. And it unfolds just right for the remainder of the day for a little over 1 hour against the risk box. Check or hold. So you'll notice that the 10-minute chart makes these moves a little more orderly, a little smoother. You end up waiting 10 minutes instead of the OR3, which I like. You get wider PSAR flips and wrist boxes. So you got to really, I think, use the R5 rather than the R10. So when I'm looking at EWW here in my TC2000 setup, my R10 is 14 cents. So that means the R5 is going to be double that, right? Both of which are geared off of the size of the intraday move in EWW. The range stat is 1.43. Now, this was a nice trade to take on the long side today because the longer term reward to risk was 3.6 coming into the day. So that's pretty good. And this generally, I would treat this as a positive move. It had a chance to fail, but it actually closed a little bit higher on the VWAP basis. And it showed some resilience during the day. So I'm slightly optimistic for tomorrow. Check or hold. Now, notice that we never really got, this was all intraday trading or inside yesterday's trade because in EWW, the mechanical entry was 65.31. It had to get above 65.31, which is right here, to break out above yesterday's high. So it never did that. It just went from the close, sold off briefly, and then just kind of trudged north. And as it got close to yesterday's high, it just gently rolled over. And then all the speculative buyers bailed, and that brought it back to settle right at the VWAP. So kind of a perfectly understandable day. All right, let's look at the traders from the last 2 days. All right, this is Brian. This is the pound dollar. This should be red because he's actually short. Gets paid. He tries the long, cuts it quick. He misses the ideal. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't mind that long. That's fine. But that's the one that's the perfect kata too, because this is supposed to go when it doesn't, it creates a lower high. And then here is your, that's also a collapsing dragon. You should be crushing that. But he's still at a 0.8 rolling expectancy, so we're in good shape. He brings home 2.4 in gold spot. This is about as orderly as you could ask. Yeah, he could have gotten here. Here's the collapsing dragon. I like that one. Has a tight wrist box. Hulk smash for 2.6. Takes a fractional loss here. Brings nets 2.4. He's up 14R and 12 trades on the gold dollars. Nothing wrong with that. Hamad has some grind. There's a lot of grinding going on in here. As per your self correction here, that's not a recognized pattern either at trade number 3. DIA, these last 2 trades are in the grind, right on the VWAP. I like the 3rd trade here, or the 4th trade here, because it's pushing the Z3 boundaries. If that was going to fail, it should fail quick. You could actually do the fake 1 go 2 on that one and at least catch the inside of the channel. There's not much to do, not much room, it turns out. George, we just got to get these stop and reversals. I'm going to ask you to get a tattoo. You know, this is a new low of the day right here. And we should be getting these trades. Let's see this. Who is this? Is this Chi Wing?
No, that's me.
Oh, Damien. Okay. So thank you. Yep. Didn't recognize the style. 1, 2, 3 entry here. Is that correct?
Yes.
And where in this bar is the exit?
You know what? I did that quickly today. I apologize. Uh, in the middle,
Probably in here.
roughly. Yeah. And I didn't get back in because I wasn't in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
So I didn't trade for the rest of the day.
Yeah. So you can do this, that little recovery. You're still well in the summer. So that still has a lot of early juice, plus with the benefit of the big gap. This is Kevin with the EWW on the 3s. And nets 2.9. Tries this one, cuts it quick, reverses. This is where the 30-minute chart comes in. He smashes that one. He gets the long side. Beauty. There's a couple Kata 2s on the way up as well. Yeah, the OR3 wrist box is small. And that's I'm feeling some joy with the 10-minute as being the middle kingdom here between the 3 and the 30. I like the 30 for the multi-day guide. The 3, if it's turning out to be too fast for you, might upgun to the 10. When I was reviewing my swings today, that was the 10 has a lot of validity. He brings home another 0.8. This is the short position on the 30s. The reversal was available for a big move. That was probably 4R available. This one is Constantine. He's our prop trader. Just doing a great job here. Golly. This is the NASDAQ 100 E-minis. Runs up, he sees this. It rolls over, so he's short here. This was maybe a second position. Reverses back up, he cuts it there for 2.7. That's good stuff. In the gold micro, he gets this one. This is his bread and butter. I think this was the part of the inspiration for Brian. So on this move from here to pull back to the doji and reverses, he gets the entry here and smashes all the way to here for 3.6. This is on 1 minute bars. Yeah. Ahmad's getting caught in the grind once more. I'm going to suggest looking at the 10 minutes as a parallel trade, see what that does for your peace of mind and to reduce the number of trades in the chop. In this case, he gets aligned after the turn. He gets 1, 2, 3, 4 trades in a row by getting aligned with the move of the day. Jonathan, I also want you to take a look at the 10-minute as an alternative. And that's also based on the idea that you're getting a lot of repetitions now on the 3-minute bars on a single target symbol. So when you move to the 10-minute, my sense is that you could start adding that second symbol, whether it's EWZ or DIA, because that extra time frame gives you a time to cycle those decisions. And I respect the reach the maximum daily loss here, but man, I respect the discipline. There's more moves and more days coming. Let's see, George. It's the re-entry. Tries it long, gets bottom ticked, reverses, gets top ticked, and then there's our new low of the day. I still take that one. It's only 15 minutes into the day. I take that one all the time, all the time. This was early noise, and you cannot let two trades like that negate your zero state or deplete your energy cycle. Reasonable. I like the re-entry. I like the second shot at it. That was unfortunate. Wasn't much follow through. So re-entry is what I'm going to suggest. Stand by. We'll get the daily reports pulled up here. Excuse me. All right, I'm just preparing myself for scenarios to the downside, like I always do. I noticed that the last rollover was about that magnitude from the peak of the R10 to the bottom of the move was about that size, that red thick bar. On this move here, it's the same bar, same size bar. And it came all the way to here. So now we got a nice kata 2 kind of a move. And now here's where everything is peaking. The RL30 right, is starting to get into the 12 o'clock position right here. And that's where, if it rolls over, that's going to become an owl to the downside. So in anticipation of that, we got the price is actually right here at the black line. And this little yellow box is the size of the move today. So I just estimate from here, I just clone that, and I say if it sells off like it did the last two times there was a significant sell-off, this thing could come down to 500. So it peaked at about, call it 535. It's at 522, which is minus $13, which is minus 2.5%. And it could fall all the way to 500, which would be another minus 4%. So that would roughly be a 7% sell-off if it comes here. All right. So that would not even be officially a correction. It's just a pullback in an otherwise strong bull, except that it's now had two strikes against it within this amount of time. Whereas after this one, it could have failed here. It didn't. It did the kata 2. It could have failed here, but it didn't. It did the kata 2 on all the way up. So those were all signs of increasing health until we get the owl rolling over. And now the fact that we got two of them in that short period of time feels like the wave is cresting, right? And you can even see that the RL 270 has started to flatten out a little bit. It should have kept on going like this, except it's had one and now two pullbacks, which was enough to start making that slow down and decay. And its fair value is up here around 490. So slightly more pessimistic than our symmetrical downside price target. I notice that the MACD is rolled over and is getting ready to come back into the Red River, which would argue for kind of a sideways choppy move. So we're going to be ready for all those. I mean, your scenarios are, hey, it reverses sharply and breaks above. It reverses slowly and just kind of muddies around. It goes pure sideways at the perfect price. It drifts down, and then anywhere on this red line, it could get the reverse for that kata 2 style pullback, or it breaks below 500 and then the bottom drops out. Not forecasting, I'm just describing, and I'm being prepared for what may happen so that I can have a plan in place. On the 30-day look back, you can see that the R10 is rolled over. The RL90 is getting ready to roll over. We're very close to the PSAR flip here at 525. The dragon is narrowing, and this is all a congestion. Excuse me. We've got the 3-day VWAP, the 5-day VWAP, the 10-day VWAP, all coming into the station. That's what makes this a compound critical state. This nice, long, beautiful move here finished out today and flipped. Ooh, excuse me. Oh, gracious. All right, so we're going to be ready for Tactical Friday tomorrow. We got a lot of pullbacks in place. We got to be ready for 1-day sharp movers. I'm still going to be using the 10-minute bars. I like Nvidia and Mexico as my two primary trading targets for tomorrow. And so I'll let you consult the daily report and lets you develop your own trading plan from there. But this looks like a compound critical state to me, so we'll be ready for tomorrow. All right, fellas, take good care. And we'll catch you tomorrow. And WAM, waiting, listening to hear if there's any update on the email server. It's now end of May.